Hi, my name's Keith Cooper, Northlight Images, and this video is a bit about inspiration for photography, ideas, themes when you're a bit bored and wondering what you're going to do. Now, I've said loads of times in the past that I really enjoy getting old photography books and just looking at the pictures. Yes, I read the words as well sometimes, but mainly I look at the pictures. Probably why I'm hopeless at remembering other photographers' names. But anyway, I was in Aldeburgh on the Suffolk Coast recently, and I found there was a second-hand bookshop, and they were having a sell-off of big books at mere £2 each. Or if you bought an armful of them, they were even cheaper. But anyway, there were a load of photography and architecture books in this. Ones which even a second-hand bookshop I'd have expected to pay £10–15 for. But irrespective of that, one of the ones I'm going to have a quick look at here, this is, and most of these I'm afraid are likely to be so out of print that you'll never find them anywhere, Oceanscapes by Debra Bloomfield. Now, this is from about 2005, 2008. They're all large format images, and they are pretty much views of the same place and views of the sea. Now, I grew up on the coast, in the Suffolk Coast, and a recurring theme, and this is something I'll come back to, recurring themes. What do they mean for your photography? Should you be bothered by it? Should you be inspired by it? What's your own attitude towards it? This is on the beach. This one was at Felixstowe, if I recall. It is 2 shots, 17mm shift lens, shifted up down to get the extra view. This was taken on my old 5DS, so there's about 80 megapixels worth there. So if there's 80 megapixels worth in a picture that big, we can effectively print it at any size. And it comes back to, as I say, having grown up by the sea, not actually precisely on the coast, but pretty close. A scene like this has a meaning to me. Now, this means I go back every time, different sea states, different weather. I'm always after just taking a few extra photos. How many of these do I print? Very few, actually. This particular one makes, and I may well return to this particular one looks great on screen, but just doesn't have the right tonal balance to look good in a print. Now, I'm sure there might be something I can do with it, but sometimes you have to accept that the view that you've taken is a great view. It looks good on screen, but making that step to a print doesn't always work. The idea that a print, and I've dismissed this many times, that a print should be a copy of what's on the screen is meaningless. The two are completely different things. Now, the pictures here, these were taken large format. There's a wide range of them, and an interesting thing I note, because this is something I experiment with myself, is that the position of the horizon matters a lot. What are you trying to show? In this particular one, it's obviously that advance of a wave, water coming in across the gravel, across the sand, mostly gravelly beaches where I grew up. But looking at different versions here, and these were shot on film, which means some of them were taken in low light, and film behaves quite differently in low light than digital systems do. But there are all kinds of pictures, and these look very familiar to me. It's interesting to see how they're printed here in a book. Different times of day, so different lighting. And as I say, they do vary in where the horizon, but there are a few that with the horizon across the middle like this, but most of them, and this is generally my preference, have a horizon low down. So it's almost like a bit of land, maybe, some sea, and then an interesting sky. And it's an interesting sky. And the interesting skies are fed through to lots of my other photography, because in a way, architectural photography, which is one of the things I do as a job, is to me very much akin. The approach to it is a bit like street photography, and you go and you look for things, you wait for things to happen, particularly if you've got people walking across the scene. Architectural photography, some of which I'm asked to have people in it, some of which I'm asked not to have people in it. I don't mind either way. Having people in it sometimes means you have to take quite a few shots and maybe adjust things just to get the right look of having people. Maybe you want to blur people. Now, similarly in this, I don't know what the shutter speed was here, but it's going to be somewhere around about an 80th, 100th of a second, or maybe a bit more. It wasn't that bright a day. So in this particular shot, everything's sharp. Now, I have a personal dislike of long exposure seascapes where the sea is rendered looking like a mist. I just don't like. Probably because I've spent that much time by the sea that just doesn't look right to me. Now, you might say, what's to look right, what's to look wrong? Well, that's that choice that you care to make. So the shots in this are excellent. But they come back to, these were, by the look of it, taken pretty much around the same location. At different times, different seasons, and so you've got lots of pictures in here. Here's a nighttime shot, and actually I can see that it's a multiple exposure because the star trails have breaks in them, and it's almost like we did an exposure. I thought, oh, we'll add a little bit more. Oh no, we'll add a little bit more to get it right. Here, obviously, the sea is blurred, but the sea is quite dark in this one here. It's very strong colours. Once again, I said about film and the way film reacts to it. But we've got a nice collection. One here just after sunset, by the looks of it. All scenes I recognise. And it comes down to, at what point do you go, yes, I've done that, and I'm happy with it. Now, there are some pictures that I've taken, and the one of, which I've got a video talking about in great detail, the one of Hood Canal, is one that I feel I nailed it on that shot, and going back to try and redo that one wouldn't actually gain me anything. That picture just works for me. Similarly, few other shots I've got. One of the pictures I took on the Suffolk Coast, looking at a small building. That one really works for me. At that point, I think it's not a matter of crossing it off and saying, yeah, I've done that. But it really is a sort of like, yeah, trying too much. I'm not going to achieve anything. In a way, this shot is a shot that I've never quite had one where I went, yes, that's it. Maybe that's just as well because it's a subject that changes so much. Now, where I live today, I live roughly in the centre of the UK in Leicester, means it's a trip to go to the seaside. So I don't get to just amble down the seaside one evening and just see what the sky looks like and things like that. I might do if I'm on holiday or something like that. I'm much more likely to take something. Now, this particular tree, this is in Switherland Woods, near here. I've returned to this location many times. I've got lots of different versions of this tree, taken with different cameras and lenses. If you're testing and comparing cameras and lenses, I find having a few known locations to go back to absolutely superb, because it gives you a feel for how a camera or a lens differs from something else. Now, these are not test charts. I don't do lens testing charts and things like that. Other people will do that sort of stuff, and if I need the data, I can find it. I'm much more interested, how does a particular lens, particular camera system help me choose what I want to take? This one, you can see aspect ratio, medium format. If I remember rightly, this one was taken on a Hasselblad when I was testing some stuff. This one, Canon 5DS, but tilt shift lens, shift up, shift down, does things like that. In fact, the picture on the book up here, my tilt shift book, that is a crop from a larger square picture taken similarly with a shift lens, shifted up, shifted down. They just picked this particular bit of it that they like the look of for putting on the cover of the book. I only had minimal input to the design of this. I wrote the book, I produced the pictures. Somebody else did most of the layout and design. I just went, yep, I like that, or no, you really need that picture, doesn't work. But coming back to creativity of it and your inspiration, yeah, I love looking through stuff like this. Even if there's several of them, I think, well, if I was there, yes, would I have taken it that? Would I have to? I've not got the constraints of a large format camera, having to use sheets of film, having to load the camera, having to set everything up, which some says concentrates the mind. I find it just a pain. So for my architectural photography, as I say, architectural photography to me is street photography on a different scale, or my landscape photography is similar to, like, I see connections between them and they work for me. So if you're having sort of, wondering what to do, thinking I ought to go out and take some photos, and I really am going through a phase of I ought to go out and take some photos at the moment, partly because of, if you've been following the channel, I did loads and loads of tests and videos and stuff about the Epson P5300 that I was testing. Only had it here for a limited period of time, so I ended up doing a lot of it, and in a way it sort of like burnt out my enthusiasm for a bit. So I'm trying to just think, right, I'm going back to stuff. And this trip happened to be on the Oceanscapes coast. Yeah, that was just has got me interested in doing things again. I'm editing files, even if they're old files, I'm going back and looking at them and looking for stuff to do. So once again, £2 well spent, a book that inspired me. Now, I appreciate my approaches here will not work for many people. You may wish to plan what you do. You may wish to take an entirely different approach. That's fine. But if you're just at a bit of a loss for something, I always go back to, and I've now got hundreds of these books, and I will sometimes just randomly go to the bookshelf and pull one off the shelf and open it up and look at the pictures. As I say, I will read the words as well sometimes, but no, it's the pictures that I'm interested in. Visit those second-hand bookshops, support those second-hand bookshops, and next time I go back to Aldeburgh, I will undoubtedly come back with a load more. Oh, there's one underneath here as well. I'm going to cover that in another video because that raises some related but similar issues of completeness and what counts as a photo. Anyway, I hope that's been of interest. I hope that, if nothing else, if it inspires one or two people to go out and take some photos and think about what they're taking and why they take it, then great, it's worked. Thanks for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel if you find it of interest, and bye.